Hello, you all. It's Devin Batts. I'm here with another video. Excuse my angle. I'm sitting in my car outside my job. I like to keep people out of my business. I'm still working nights, as you all know, but I did want to come in and, check in with you all. Let you all know that I'm still doing great. I hope you all are doing amazing as well. Um, I'm going to jump right into it. God has been dealing with me with some things, and I thought that I'd share one of the last, conversations that I had with the Most High. I had woke up in the middle of the night. I always have conversations with God around 3 a.m. It's like clockwork. He always wake me up around like 3 a.m. and we talk. I pray, get everything off my chest because, as you all know, I have children, and in the daytime, children, they're just running around and doing their own thing, so you don't really have too much time to really focus, like sit down and focus. Having me time is kind of difficult right now, but I'm working on it. But one of the last conversations that I had with God, it was about how I got married too young. Um, I was 20 when I met my ex-husband, and within like 5 months of dating, he asked me to marry him. We were talking about getting married, and we decided, you know what, let's just do it. We love each other, let's just do it. I didn't have a template of what a wife should be because the last female in my family to get married was my grandmother when she married my grandfather. My mom, she was engaged a few times but never married. um Everybody, just seemed to do their own thing, sleeping around and indulging in the wrong behavior and all of that. And at one point I was picking the wrong man based off of what I was shown as a little girl with the men that my mom dated. She only dated men that, they either sold drugs or, they were. My dad was in the military, even though I never met him. He was in the military, so they either made decent money, but they were emotionally unavailable, or they were married men. Um, my mom, she had all brothers, so she was kind of rough around the edges, and those are the types of men that she would pick. And that was the template for what I was choosing. So when I met my ex-husband, he was different. He's a great guy, come from a great family and all of that. And I was like, you know what, I hadn't already started changing my life. I gave my life back to Christ when I was 17, and I was on the right track. I always had a relationship with God anyway. Um, since I was a little girl, around like 5 years old, was like the earliest that I could remember like hearing the voice of God. So it was like He always had His hand on my life. And when I turned my life around and I met my ex-husband, and he was a good guy, I was like, okay, well, this is somebody I can actually see a life with. So when he wanted to get married, I was okay with that. But at the same time, there was a lot of red flags. And, in a way, even though I loved him, I don't think we were supposed to have gotten married. He was a great guy, but we weren't supposed to have gotten married. Like, God showed me so many signs. Um, his family, they were good people, but they had their demons like any other family. Um, but I was young, I was in love, I was naive, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get married. Even though deep down I felt some type of way about getting married a little bit, I was always nervous. Um, when it kept approaching, the date we were supposed to get married, I would kind of like, we would get into an argument, and I was like, nah, we're gonna wait a little while longer. I kept pushing it off, and then we eventually got married. Um, I think what God was really doing for me was He was trying to let me know it was more things that I needed to work on. Not being shown a template of what a wife is supposed to be is one thing. I didn't, all I had was, you know, what I was indoctrinated with by the older generation. Um, if the man is acting the fool, just pray for him. Let God deal with that. Just stay no matter what. Just be a good wife. Do what you're supposed to do, your part. And, raise up the children. All that stuff that, the older generation was talking about. And, now that I'm older and wiser, I realize that the older generation had it all jacked up. I know some of y'all might come for my neck with that, but the older generation had it messed up. Because it clearly states in the Bible that they used to like to preach from so much, all these scriptures and stuff they learned over the years. It does say that abuse and adultery and stuff like that were grounds for divorce. And our grandparents, they dealt with a lot of that from their husbands. But at the same time, they barely had any rights back then. But still, sometimes you just have to leave for yourself. You have to leave for your children. And, and God, he was whipping me with this thing. He was like, you got married young, but at the same time, you broke a generational curse. And that was another thing. I was like, if I got married, I'll be the only one after my grandmother to get married. That's definitely breaking a generational curse. And, I always felt like God chose me to be the generational curse breaker in my family. So that's pretty much what I am. I'm doing things completely different from the generations, that were before me. But, he was just letting me know I had stuff that I needed to work on. So that was that gut feeling. I had, like, the trauma that I had growing up. I didn't really fully address it. I just forgave everybody and just moved on with my life. And that's not really healing, because you never forget it. You can forgive the people, but, moving on in your life, it's kind of like you still taking it with you everywhere you go. If you don't heal properly, you have to sit down and really get down to the root. Okay, this is what happened. This is who did it. How did it make me feel back then? How did it affect my childhood? How did it affect my adult life? I can't do anything to change the past. What can I change now and for my future, my present and my future? How can I do things differently when I have children? I had to, take all these things into consideration. And, I advise anybody who's dealing with any type of trauma, that's how you deal with how to forgive and how to move on with your life. I know it's going to bring up some feelings that, you push way in the back of your mind. I know those are some feelings that you never ever want to feel again. Thinking about it is going to leave you vulnerable. But you have to break down that tough shell that you have, because it's cutting you off from meeting, wonderful people, and it's cutting you off from the rest of the world and doing amazing things that you love without you even knowing it. But God was telling me, Dave, you need to work on that. I didn't know what my purpose was because I was so young and I was in a bad environment growing up. So it's like I didn't know what my purpose was, and that was another thing. If you're young and you want to get married, you really need to know what your purpose is, what God put you here to do. You don't want to live your entire life and die without the world knowing that you were ever here. You want to, what God has for you is going to be for you. Our life, I feel like our life is not our life. Our life is one whole life. We go through things to help other people. Like Christ went through everything he went through to help us. So it's like we can't be selfish and withhold information and withhold experiences that we succeeded and, that we got through. And, because we done went through things and we done got past it, and we don't give ourselves enough credit because, we could have went through this, but the next person, they committed suicide because of it. They didn't know how to deal with it. So don't ever sit on, how you've overcome something and then you don't share it with someone else. But I didn't know my purpose. And when you don't know your purpose, you enter into people pleasing. You let other people mold you into what they want you to be because you're unsure of yourself. You lack boundaries and stuff like that. Your standards are low. You vibrating low. And usually you're going to attract what you are when you're in that state. And I ended up attaching myself to a person who didn't know what their purpose was as well. And that's very dangerous when you're getting married. So if you're young and you're considering getting married, you need to know what you want, what you want out of life, what you want to give back to the world, how you're going to do all of this. You have to make sure you keep God as the center of everything. So I attached myself to somebody that didn't know what their purpose was. And, it ended badly because the older I got, the more I grew, the more I excelled, the more I was doing great. And, he would downplay my success. He wasn't really happy about anything. It was like pulling teeth to get him to, be happy for me. I was his wife. I was doing this, doing that. He would stonewall me. We would get in arguments and stuff like that. He was never really supportive. I poured way too much into him than he poured into me. And that's what, ended our marriage. I did even though I didn't have an example of what a wife should be, I did everything that I was supposed to do. A lot of, he was in the military. A lot of time, my morning started before his. I was up cooking breakfast and make sure his uniforms were straight. When he left, I took care of the kids. I took care of the house. I ran the errands, took the kids everywhere I went. I was cooking. I was cleaning. I was uplifting him. I was doing everything I was supposed to do. All he had to do was go to work. When he got off from work, I made sure the kids were bathed and they weren't unruly. They had a full day. That way when he came home, he had peace. He had quiet, So I did everything that I was supposed to, and I'm extremely proud of myself because I didn't have no template of what a wife should be. I just, put together, a little bit here from this person, a little bit here from, what I've heard of, what I've seen on movies, or take a little bit here and there from the older generation and just kind of like put it all together. And I did amazing. I really did. Whenever I was out of pocket because I felt some type of way about something that wasn't really that serious, I would check myself. I would go back to him and I would apologize and I would fix myself. I would fix my actions. But he wasn't doing the same for me. And the more I excelled, I saw that me and my children deserved better, and that's why I left. I knew what my purpose was. I figured myself out. I had all these talents and stuff, and I just bloomed, but he didn't. And, still to this day, he still don't know what he's supposed to be doing. He's a great father, but, I wish he would go to God and figure out what it is he needs to be doing. I would like for our children, both of their parents, to, know what they're doing, in life. Both of us know what our purpose is. How we can make ourselves proud, how we can make the Creator proud, how we can make our children proud. But there's a downside to not knowing your purpose and being with somebody who don't know their purpose, especially when you're getting older and you're growing and the other person isn't. So it's like now you're off balance. You're not equally yoked. Now here come all these problems because you're just so young and so in love. You thought that's all it took for you to be happy and have a happy marriage, and that's not. That's just not it. It's not it. It's so much that comes into play. You can't be doing more for another person than they're doing for you. It has to be equal. You took vows in sickness and in health and all of that. So you have to honor that. And after I got a divorce, I felt bad, but at the same time, God reassured me that everything was okay. And I was okay after that. And since my divorce, I have excelled. I am doing amazing. I love who I am now. My children are proud of me. I'm proud of me. I'm just walking into my purpose, and it's just a beautiful journey. Marriage is also beautiful. Don't think just because, you have bad times here and there that it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just you have to think things through before you actually get married. Especially if you're young. You have to know your purpose. You have to make sure you're not burning yourself out and you're with somebody that's going to drain the life out of you. You have to make sure that you're not doing that, because you matter too. The older generation would, indoctrinate us women to believe that, we supposed to only care about the man. We didn't really matter as much. What we thought didn't really matter as much, and that's not true at all. Just work, do this, do that, and just accept what treatment you get, and that's not right. And I don't want anybody to believe that. You matter too in your marriage. It's not just your husband that matter. So when I was talking to God about it, he was like, well, you have to share that. You have to know what your purpose is. You have to know what you're here for. Your partner has to also know. You're supposed to, each other love language, flow with each other's love language, know each other, get to know each other on all levels. You can't be one-sided. And a lot of us, we don't know what we're supposed to be doing, and we're attaching ourselves to people who don't know what they're supposed to be doing. And that's a no-no. That's a no-no. So, yeah, you got to heal from your past trauma so you don't bring none of that up in your marriage. You have to know your purpose. Heal from your trauma and know your purpose. Keep God at the center of everything, and you'll be just fine. But that's why I wanted to come on here briefly and talk to you all about it. I got to get in here and clock in. I know my clock is wrong. I probably got a couple of minutes to run in here and clock in. But I love you all. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all soon. Goodbye.